She saw her own grave, but she was in it. We'll find out how that works on this edition of Jim Harold's Campfire.
Sit back, relax, and warm yourself by Jim Harold's Campfire.
Well, she's been listening for years, and she has a remarkable story for us on talking about Alara from Texas. Alara, I read this and I was spellbound. I can't wait to hear the actual full story. Tell us what happened.
So it happened on December 26th of 98. I was on my way with a cousin of mine and a friend of mine to pick up another cousin of mine. We were going to a Christmas party, after the holidays. And the part of town that we were in, we were going into town. So we were on the outskirts. So our speed wasn't that high, but it was more than, inner city limits.
Right.
And as we were driving, there was a bus on the left side, which was used for like public transport.
Sure.
And then on the right side, there was a car. I believe it was a Grand Marquis car that I saw at another stop sign. So we were going straight into town. The bus on the left side decides to just go for it. Just completely went for it. So we received the impact head on. The side of the bus we hit, we got it forward. Now, for me, that day, I was not wearing a seatbelt. That was actually my blessing of not having been wearing the seatbelt. So what happens is airbag deploys, hits my face, breaks the bottom part of my nose, pushes me back. In between the driver and in between my seat, I was co-pilot. A friend of mine was sitting there. She lunges forward, lands on my back. She breaks both her wrists, so she uses her elbows to get herself up. So she shifts my spine and my neck. Apart from this, the brake pads of the vehicle actually came inside the vehicle, hit my knee, tore part of the tendon, loosened the ligaments completely, and then the dashboard just completely caved in. So,
oh my Lord.
So from what the officers actually told me and the doctor was, had I been wearing the seatbelt, I would have been stuck between the restriction of the seatbelt and the entire dashboard coming inside. I would have been crushed there. But because I wasn't, I fell forward, basically where your feet are. I was curled up down there.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I remember getting out of the car because of the smoke from the airbags. And immediately a lady just hits me in the face with like tissues because I was bleeding. Like obviously my nose was bleeding. So I remember I got out. I remember I looked around and the first thing I did was I picked up the phone, called my mom. And I called her and I'm like, hey, just had a little accident. Of course, my mom goes off. And then she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And she's like, where are you? I'm like, I don't know. And that's where I literally heard the tone in her voice just drop. And she's like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. Like, I know where I'm at, the part of town where I'm at. I don't know where I'm at. I can't guide you here. So she asked me, what did you do? I'm like, okay, we came into town. We picked up my friend. We're going this way. And she's like, I know where you're at. I'll be there in a moment. Okay. So because I told her we were fine, she assumed maybe we were going to be like, at the police station with the report. She didn't know we were taken to the hospital. So I hang up with her and I start trying to find my cousin and trying to find my friend. And I'm walking.
And you're severely injured.
And I'm severely injured. I'm not supposed to be walking with my injuries, but I'm walking. And I see my friend first and I call her name. She turns around and as she starts walking to me, she kind of like falls forward. So I catch her. How did I catch her with my injuries? I don't know. How was I walking? I don't know. I say it was the adrenaline. I got myself onto the ambulance, went to the hospital, and I'm like, all right, I don't want anybody touching me until my parents get here, especially my mom. Sure. So I'm in pain. At this point, I'm already in pain. I'm feeling it. The nurses are asking me, where does it hurt? So I start describing everything that I feel, what happened. I start describing what I do remember at that point.
And they're worried probably
And
about internal injuries they can't see, too.
probably. But when they tell me, okay, your mom's here, I'm like, I don't want to see her. She's going to get mad at me again, blah, blah, blah. But no. So we go in and we get checked out. Uh, yeah. The tendon in my knee is the majority of it is completely torn. The ligaments are completely loose. So I'm on crutches for months, physical therapy and crutches for months. Now, the weird part is when we had the accident and I got out of the car, you know how, like, when you feel somebody is watching you from a distance?
Yes.
You feel their eyesight on you. That's what I felt. But I felt it as if I was like in a little square, I was confined. So I would feel the eyesight on me and I felt confined. But I mean, I didn't pay attention to it because of everything else going on. So fast forward, months go by. I'm still in crutches. And I was at the cemetery dropping off flowers for my paternal grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And because of how the cemetery is, a lot of grass, sprinklers, my brother was with me, hey, watch your step.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad passes by and he's like, hey, you guys are walking around close to my grandfather's cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, which one? The Colonel. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, let me try to find it. So my brother and I are going tomb by tomb trying to find it. And I see one that catches my eye. There was a little, like a little angel statue on the top of the tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, let me see what this is. So I start moving, some of the grass to get a better read. And the tombstone said my full name, my birthday,
Wow. Wow.
the day of the accident.
Wow.
I touched the tombstone. And I know at the time, the person who was in charge of it, their grandson was a real good friend of mine. So I'm like, what kind of prank are you trying to pull? I call him up. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm in this part of the cemetery, this section, this row, tombstone number 21. Why does it have my information? He's like, that tombstone doesn't exist. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, I'm seeing it. It's like right here in front of me. Like, it doesn't. Till this day, he tells me the same thing. That tombstone doesn't exist. And I've never seen it again.
So you've gone back in the tombstone with your
I've
name,
gone back
and the day of
multiple
the
times.
accident is not there anymore.
It's not there anymore. I know exactly where I was in the cemetery, what row, what tombstone. I counted them on purpose for that reason. And I've never seen it again.
Huh. You know what it reminds me of? A Christmas Carol. You know that scene where Scrooge, the ghost of Christmas Future, is with him, and they go to the graveyard, and it lights up, with the lightning. And I mean, in the depictions I've seen, I don't know if there was lightning in the actual book, but you see the Ebenezer Scrooge tombstone. Remember? And then he says, well, a ghost is this merely the picture of things that must be or might not happen. I forgot how he put it. But the point is that you had a real kind of, like, in a weird way, that Ebenezer Scrooge thing. You saw an alternate reality where you weren't here anymore. You were gone. So what do you make of that? I've got specific things I can ask you, but you tell me, what do you make of it? Why do you think you saw it? What do you think it meant or signified?
So now, years later, on and off, I get that nudge. What was it? What was it? And I go in, I do my research. And speaking to people, they've all come to the same conclusion. I saw a timeline in which I didn't make it. So there was like a glitch in where I saw that timeline. That's not the only weird thing that's happened to me. Since that accident, stuff has happened, not to that scale at all, but I've seen things, heard things. One thing that'll happen a lot is I'll get like a strong smell out of something, and it just triggers back, and it'll bring me back to and like if I smell something, it'll take me back to where, like, in my mind an image pops up of something.
Wow.
And that scene that I'll see, and it's like, okay, I know what I'm seeing, but nowadays I don't have recollection of that image that I saw. But it brings back that memory. So that has happened to me quite a bit. And it all started from that accident. The other thing that happened to me, I'm in Texas and I was driving to a city from my town that's about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Speed limit in Texas is 75.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with another cousin of mine. I don't remember why we were going. We were probably checking out the schools up there. We were driving and I was driving because since from that day on forward, I prefer to drive and I drive very slow, not or at the limit. I don't
Right.
speed. And as we were driving, listening to music and just talking, we both at the same time just said, like, what the heck? We're here. Like, no, there's no way we're here. And I always use the cruise control. We got there in an hour, and minutes. So we shaved off over an hour of time getting there.
Do you think somehow you were placed further along the route, you didn't realize it, and that was to save you from another accident, possibly?
Maybe. I will tell you this, that 3 months ago, I now live in Houston, Texas, and the traffic here is just insane. I was going to a dinner with some friends, got out of the house, left my house. I was going to get on the freeway, and I just had this nudge, get off of the freeway, just get off of the freeway. I did.
Mm-hmm.
Exited out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go home. Went home. Later that evening, major freeway accident involving an 18-wheeler. 7-car pile.
I hear that stuff all the time. It's something else. Alara, that is an instant Campfire classic. That is amazing. What an amazing story. Scary, a glimpse of what could have been. Now, you're okay now physically. You've recovered from your injuries? Oh, good. Oh, good.
I mean,
good.
They flare up, of course, as never going to be 100% recovery. But yeah, I mean, I'm back to doing everything that I used to do.
Well, Alara, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're safe. And we're glad you came on the Campfire to share this story. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Thank you.
Welcome to Jim Harold's Campfire. This is a show where real people tell real stories of real paranormal circumstances. Could be a ghost, could be a cryptid creature, could be a head scratcher like that first story. That's a Campfire classic for us today. Whatever they are real, from real people sharing their strange experiences. Welcome to the program. We've been doing it for 17 years now, and same show, unvarnished, real experiences. And if you've been listening for a while and you say, boy, I really like that show, I wish I could get that back catalog. Here's an easy way to do it. The Plus Club, jimharold.com/plus, jimharold.com/plus. And I can say truthfully, we've not raised the price since 2011 when we first started. And I can also say truthfully, the vast majority of people I talk to love the Plus Club. I always ask them, how's it working out for you? And they say, great, I love it. And you'll love it too. So please, and we've got some great money-saving coupon codes and different offers that you can take advantage of. Check it out, and it supports what we do, and it makes the Campfire possible. jimharold.com/plus, jimharold.com/plus. And with that, we'll not delay any longer, and we'll get back to more great Campfire stories. He's been on the show before. He's back. I'm talking about Nick from OH.
Ohio.
There you go, Ohio. Nick is here. And he has a really kind of cool story, and I guess, I'll let him tell it, and then I'll give my thoughts on it, but it's a good one. It's a good one. Nick, welcome back to the show. And you said when you thought about this story, you thought it'd be perfect for the Campfire, and I agree. Tell us what happened.
All right. Well, first of all, glad to be back. This story is an old family story, and my mom loves to tell it, and it's great. So this is a story that happened to my mom's dad, so Grandpa Otto, and he was born in 21, right? I have to think about that. Yeah, 21. And he was raised in Columbus, Ohio, grew up in Columbus, Ohio. And as a young man, I think he just trying to get by. He took a lot of odd jobs, and one of those odd jobs he took was a grave digger at the nearby cemetery.
Yeah.
And I think my mom and I were discussing this the other day. This had to take place in like 1939 to 1941, probably before he went off to World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time, like I said, young man, and for whatever reason, he was living with his Aunt Kate for whatever reason. He wasn't living at home anymore. My mom likes to think that he got sent off there to room with Aunt Kate to straighten him up because she was really strict or whatever. And so anyhow, the story goes that he was finishing up his shift of digging graves, and on the way out of the cemetery, he proceeds to walk by a new burial. And as anybody who's been to a cemetery knows, where there's a new burial, sometimes people will heap a bunch of flowers
Right.
on top of the new grave. And he didn't think anything of it. He thought, I'll bring home Aunt Kate a bundle of flowers. And he picked up a nice one. Right. He picks up a nice one and is just walking out of the cemetery. He gets to his truck and hops in. Truck won't start. Okay. Truck won't start. I don't think he thought anything of it. I mean, it was circa 1940 after all. I don't think
Right.
that, our cars were the most reliable. So it wasn't very far to get to home. So he walks home, flowers in his hand. And so I guess he walks in the door and kicks his shoes off and walks in the kitchen. Aunt Kate's there. And before he can open his mouth, she looks at him with this scowl and goes, "What are you doing with those flowers?" And Grandpa Ott is like, I brought them for you. And she said, you take those back where you found them. Take them back to that cemetery. Bring your truck home. Okay. See, he didn't tell her the truck wouldn't start. How does she know that? I don't know. I like to think she could just sense a disturbance in the force when he walked in. There was some cloud around him or something. And he thought, okay. And she seemed pretty upset. So on the way back, I guess he had plenty of time to think about it and probably freaked himself out. And as he approached the cemetery, he just took that bouquet of flowers and just threw it over the wall, the fence, and got in his truck, started right up, and he went straight home. Yeah.
That's funny. I thought it was your grandma, but it was your aunt. It was your aunt. I got to tell you, what a great story. And I mean, yeah, you might be able to explain away, but I don't think so. I think that maybe something was saying, hey, those aren't your flowers, and you're going to have to walk.
Yeah, he's gonna have to learn it one way or another, and he did. So there's a small addendum to the story. It's kind of funny too. So years later, decades later, the whole family's at someone's funeral, and my mom was telling me that it was wintertime, and they were at the graveside once again. It's their family, and there's this bundle of flowers. I mean, a bunch of flowers there on the grave. And, typically a lot of times people will just take them home with them. I mean, it's their
yeah. I mean, if
flowers,
it's their
right?
family, that's a whole different story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're all standing around going, well, it'll be a shame to let these flowers all go to waste. It's pretty cold out here. They're not going to last. And someone says to Grandpa Otto, "Hey, Dad, do you want to take some of these home?" He's like, "Oh, I don't want those. Get those away from me. I'm not taking those." So that stuck with him a long time later.
Oh, that's good.
He learned his lesson. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's a great story. I love family stories. And when I do library talks, I'm going to be doing some of these this fall too, that we're about ready to announce. And why I said that, like, my closing slide is, I'd love it if you listen to the podcast. I love it if you come up and buy a book or whatever. That's great. But one thing, if you don't get anything else from this, tell your stories, whether it's you come on my Campfire show or more importantly, tell your stories to your family, whether they're supernatural stories or just cool little things that happen, because I have umpteen stories that my mom and my dad told me, and my mom's passed, unfortunately. And those stories, many of them would have died without her, but now I've told them to my kids, and I hope that they carry them on, kind of like you're doing with the family. Yeah. I think it's so important to share that oral tradition. And a lot of those stories, they die with the people when they die. And I think it's great that you're keeping the story alive. And it's a great story with a moral. Don't steal flowers from a graveyard. Grandpa Otto found out all about that. That's a great story, Nick. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being on the show and sharing this great story. Stay spooky.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Stay spooky, Jim.
Well, one of our favorite people, she's over in the virtual campfire group, virtualcampfiregroup.com, and she's just got a great spirit about her, so much fun, and has great stories, too. She's been on the show lately. Marcia joins us from Tennessee, and she has a workplace story, which are some of my favorites. So, Marcia, thank you for joining us again, and tell us what happened.
Okay, so part of my job, I have to come in early and start the machines, get them ready and prepared, for what we have to run that day. Well, I came in, put my stuff in the fridge, and started the coffee pot and all that. And as I walked out onto the factory floor, this ungodly racket came from the break room. And so I run back in there and nothing was out of place, not a thing. And I thought that was strange. So I get my phone out and I pull up the priority list of the things that I have to do that morning. And I'm walking in the direction of the machines that I have to turn on. And it sounded like someone took a forklift and lifted up the end of one of the machines and dropped it. And I'm just paralyzed. And I'm staring in this area. And I could tell nothing had happened, no explosion or anything. But I run over and I'm see if anything fell off the machine or whatever. And as I'm rounding the machine to check the back end of it, I hit this wall of energy so hard it knocked me backwards, at least, a foot or so. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to leave you to it right here. I'm going to go on down the other end of the plant and turn those things on. And as I'm going, some of the machines have motion sensor lights and they start turning on in sequence like somebody's walking past them. And it's not me. But yeah, and it's not me because I'm not within range. Now, if one of them come on, it would have been whatever, but all of them and in sequence. And I get down there and I, get that area ready and I'm coming back up and this thing falls in right next to me and starts walking alongside me. And it is so intense that you could actually feel it on your skin.
Wow.
And so by the time I get back up to these machines, I don't know what happened. It's like the last time, I was on, I was talking about how I had so much stuff happen to me that I'm just used to it. And it takes a lot to actually scare me. I mean, I'll get, spooked or, things like that, but actually being scared, that hardly ever happens. This thing was scaring the crap out of me. And I don't know what happened at that point, if it was like some sort of survival instinct or something, but all the fear suddenly left and I was filled with rage. And I was more angry at it than I ever was afraid of it. And this is going to sound so stupid, but this is what happened. I started singing to it. And yeah, and very loudly, very viciously started singing, row, row, row your boat, the blank away from me. And I was even doing the rowing. Yeah. And then I started screaming at it, banshee style. You're bothering me and I'm busy. Go rattle your chain somewhere else.
Wow. Don't mess with Marcia.
Well, I mean, look, at that point, I didn't want to be messed with anybody, whether they had a body or not. And I don't know, it was just really strange. It's like somebody flipped a switch and but it has never done that since. I mean, I've heard it before, kind of like it's like, hey, I'm still here, but I'm not coming over there, but I'm here. But it's never done that before. And I don't know why it did it. Just like it's try to show its hind end. I don't know.
Huh.
It didn't work.
Wow. That's spooky, I got to tell you. And I think, the thing is that workplace stuff is kind of weird because I don't think, almost people seeing ghosts in their house or having experience in their house, I think people are a little more primed for that. Not that it isn't spooky, particularly if it's like at night or you're asleep or something like that. But at work, I think it's so unexpected, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Like it's so unexpected that you would see something at work, but workplaces could be haunted like any place else.
And I don't know why this place, it has to be something tied to the land because the building itself is about 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, I've had coworkers pass away, and I even had one actually die in the building. But these people were sweethearts. They would never be intimidatingly in your space like that. So I don't know who it is or what, but it didn't have an evil feel to it. It was just intimidating, like it tried to bully me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Huh. Well, it's fascinating. And then anything after that at the workplace? Anything after that?
Well, I've heard noises, just like and we have these stools there, and they make a very distinct sound when you put them down. And I was there, and I heard one of them, be sat down kind of hard. And I look up in the direction that it came from, and there sat one of those stools that the owner of the plant had when he was watching some of the machinery the day before. And I thought,
interesting.
Okay. And I had somebody meow at me one day. Yes. I was loading material into the machine. And as I was hunkered down, there's kind of like an open space behind it, but not like real open. But there's a space right there. And as I was loading stuff in, it's like a person said meow. And anybody that knows me knows that I am a cat freak. I absolutely love cats. And I think I know which coworker that was. He had passed away a few years ago. And
he was messing with
that's
you.
fine. It probably. Right.
Well,
I wouldn't expect anything less from him.
Marcia, you're fantastic. We love all your contributions over at the Virtual Campfire group. I know Dar is a huge fan as well as me. And thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Campfire. I appreciate it. And I know you will, but I'm still going to say it. Stay spooky.
Oh, I promise. Bye-bye.
Yet another long-time listener, Paul from Pennsylvania, is here. And, they have these different events around the country, paracons and things. And sometimes they'll have, different exhibits, maybe sometimes of haunted items. And I think most people want to go see him, maybe get a little bit of a thrill. But maybe Paul got more of a thrill than he bargained for when he went to one such event. He's going to tell us all about it. Paul, welcome to the show. Tell us what happened.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for having me. In a nutshell, we went to the Penhurst Paracon. It was myself, my daughter, my granddaughter, and my young grandson. And we got a chance to go to the Warren exhibit where they had all the haunted objects from the Warrens.
Cool.
One of them, of course, was, Annabelle. And they have the whole setup, and you go in, and you go into we go into the first room. There's like 5 or 6 different rooms with different items. The last room would be Annabelle, of course. So I go in to the first. We all go in as a group. There's probably about 8 or 10 people in the group. We go into the first room, and now my daughter and my granddaughter and grandson get in ahead of me. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm just looking at things, taking some pictures, and I passed this one mirror, but I refused to look in it. I was like, no, I'm not looking in that mirror. There's just something about it that, irked me. So I just went around, and then my daughter says, hey, can you hold your grandson and I want to take some pictures. And I'm like, sure. And as I was still walking around, him and I were just, I'm holding him. And then all of a sudden, I got hit with this overwhelming terror. And it was terror. I have never been this afraid in my life. I didn't make it through the whole exhibit. I was shaking. I was crying. I was petrified. My daughter sees what's going on. She comes up to me, and I'm telling the guy, the guide, dude, I gotta leave. No, I gotta leave now, bro. I gotta leave now. I'm not playing. I need to get out this place. And they're like, hold on, we got to get somebody to take you out. Blah 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 blah. My daughter's like, here, give me the baby. You go. Go. My grandson literally leapt from my daughter back into my arms.
He sensed it too.
And we had to leave. We finally got outside, and there was the I forget his name now, but the priest that follows around with the exhibit, him and his deacon were there, and they had to say prayers over the two of us.
Wow.
It might have been, I sat out there for like 15, 20 minutes before I finally regained composure. And I was a mess. I was an absolute mess. I don't know what it was. And this isn't the first time I've been to Pennhurst, and it's not the first time Pennhurst has attacked me. And I just don't know what it is with me and Pennhurst. I guess maybe because I used to talk smack, like, oh, I'm not afraid. I'm not da-da-da-da. And it's showing me that you're just a human and we're different and we'll get you.
Wow. So maybe some of that is kind of like we'll show you kind of thing.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Would you go back? I know my answer, but what's your answer?
Yeah, I'm going back next year.
That's not my answer.
Yeah.
See, I'm not ashamed to admit I'm a coward. It's like I might go once, if nothing happened to me. But if I went and something like that happened to me, you would not see me there again. But that's just me.
I'm stubborn. I'm angry now. I'm angry. I don't know what it is about that place that is getting. Now, I've been to other places and nothing has ever happened. And the times I went to Pennhurst before, nothing has ever happened to me. But the last two times I was there, something latched onto me and scared the bejesus out of me.
But you don't have any concern that it followed you, because it sounds like you felt you were protected by those prayers.
Yeah, definitely. They actually gave me like a coin that I keep in my wallet. I have holy water in my car. I have a blessed stone that I keep in my car that if I start feeling any kind of way, I rub the stone and, say a prayer. But yeah, it was something.
You have all your bases covered, Well, yes, Paul,
sir.
Thank you for sharing the story. That sounds terrifying. And one other question, do you remember what specific artifact you were by when this happened?
It was the second time I passed the mirror that was in I only recall it as from being in the last movie.
Yeah.
But it was that mirror that was in this room.
And we've had some weird mirror stories on the Campfire as well. Paul, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your story. If you go out there again, two things: be safe, and
always.
if you have another experience, please do share it with us. So, thank you for being on the show, for listening all these years, and stay spooky.
Stay spooky, Jim. Thanks.
We ask everybody to stay spooky, but Shane, in a way, has always been spooky because he grew up in a spooky house, and now he's going to tell us about it on the Campfire. Shane, thanks for joining us. I know you're a Plus Club member, too. Thank you for your support, and be like Shane and join us at jimharold.com/plus. Shane, tell us about this childhood growing up in this spooky house.
Yeah, Jim. Yeah, thanks for having me. Love the show, and glad I could finally be on here and share my experience. But yeah, so I got some notes here, but yeah, I think from a very young age, I've kind of been really into all things spooky and paranormal, especially with related to ghosts. And I'm pretty
Hmm.
sure that the story of the house I grew up in, I think it really kind of kicked things off for me. But yeah, so I talked with my mom because I was really young, and so I've heard the story over the years, but kind of freshened up the details. But when I was about 4 years old, my family moved into this house in a really small town. I think there's probably somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people in the town at the time.
Hmm.
Rural Washington State. So yeah, it was me and my two older sisters and my mom and dad, and moved into this house. And as my mom recalls, the first night we were there, they kind of got me and my sister's bedroom set up upstairs and got our beds put together and all that, so we could be kind of settled in. And I think that's all the energy they had for the day. And so my mom remembers getting us to sleep, and then her and my dad set up a mattress downstairs for the night. And my mom remembers, we're asleep, and she remembers laying there and hearing just lots of busy noise from upstairs, just like running up and down the hallway, kind of things banging and slamming. And she would go up and check on us, and we'd be sound asleep. Um, and she remembers going back downstairs and just laying on the mattress, and tears streaming from her face because uh, she kind of knew what was going on, and what they could potentially be in for,
Wow.
living in this house. And so and my mom is like the most practical woman, and so for her to kind of be keen on this that early on was pretty
Right.
telling.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so kind of just like the classic haunted house stuff, and I think we were there for about 2 years, and she said that this activity went on for um, about a year and a half of that or so. But it was basically every night, this same stuff. It was the running up and down the hallways, the slamming of the doors. I guess upstairs where our bedrooms were, before we moved in, things were freshly recarpeted, and and there's new carpet, and sometimes it's so
Hmm.
so thick that you kind of got to pull on doors because it hasn't really settled down yet.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, I guess one of the closet doors upstairs would just kind of open and shut on its own, where if you were to do it by hand, there's no way these doors could just swing open on their own. um, and there would be cabinets and doors kind of opening to the point to where my mom didn't necessarily see the stuff, but she'd be like, I know these doors were closed and now
Right.
they're open. And
Huh.
uh, just that classic stuff. Um and then there upstairs there was also one room that no matter what time of year was always like see your breath cold.
Huh.
uh yeah, summertime, blankets, jackets, doesn't matter. It was just, this room was like, no one really went in there because it was just freezing cold all the time. um and So yeah, this goes on for a year and a half or so, and my mom just, they couldn't really afford to move anywhere else, and this is kind of where we were. And my dad worked nights, so it was kind of, my mom was just kind of scared all night, every night.
Right.
And so yeah, one night my sister came downstairs crying, and um, said that there was someone sitting at the edge of her bed,
Oh my Lord.
and could see an imprint right next to her. And she was probably 8 years old at the time, and could see an imprint where someone was sitting at the edge of her bed. And uh, my mom was like, "Okay, something's got to give here." Like, she tried to shield it from the kids, but now we were onto it. And So she met with, there was a group from a local church of ladies. I don't know if she went to the church or just kind of friends, but we didn't really talk about it because it was a small town and we didn't want people to think we were the crazy family. She noticed that some of these other gals were sharing stories of things that happened in their house. And so my mom was like, oh, yeah, I got, this is what's going on at our place. And I guess a couple of ladies were versed in, blessing houses. And so they came over and were like, we'll do a house blessing for you. And they kind of went room to room, and they went into that cold room upstairs. One of the ladies, she must have been, sensitive in some sort of way, but was like, this is where they're hanging out. This is where
Wow.
she that something was kind of concentrated in this room. And so they went through, every room to room. I'm not sure what the format was, but did their blessing. And after that evening, my mom said that room had warmed up and the activity had pretty much stopped completely, which was great. But then I think the real kicker of the story is our house was kind of at the bottom of this little bluff, and our neighbors just kind of lived right above us. And the next day, one of the ladies that lived there came down, and I don't know if she knocked on the door, but talked to my mom and was like, hey, is everything okay at your house? And my mom's like, yeah, why? And she said that she was sitting outside that evening, kind of when this house blessing was going on, and she could hear like crying and shrieking coming.
Whoa.
Like, emanating from the house as this blessing was going on. And what I'm guessing, these spirits in leaving the residence.
Wow. Well, I mean, yeah, the two things going together, the fact that everything seemed to calm down, and then the fact you're hearing this shrieking and the crying at the same time. Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's wild. So there was something definitely there. Did it sound like you didn't stay in the house too much longer, though? Is that right?
No. I think it was another 6 months or so, and then I think Mom got a new job, and we relocated. And but she did mention that afterwards she talked to the guy that owned the house, and I don't know what's related, but she said someone did die in the house previously. Mm-hmm. But their gathering was that it seemed more like more playful, mischievous, almost like children,
right.
Kind of the vibe they got. But yeah, so it seems like they were just from the vibe they got, it was more of a mischievous, maybe like children spirits. But who knows what was actually going on. And yeah, like I said, I was really young. The only thing I really remember is just being like scared. And even had, like my mom said, my cousin would come over, and he would like sit at the landing halfway up the stairs, afraid to go up. So people could sense that something was going on there.
Yeah, certainly something. And we did a masterful edit in there, but Shane froze up right when he was telling us what was going on. Maybe the spirits are back. Who knows? Probably not. Probably just Zoom. Shane, thanks so much for being with us, and stay spooky.
Thank you, Jim. Stay spooky.
Well, I've got a head scratcher for you coming up. Becca from Missouri is on the line. She said show just showed up in Spotify one day, and she clicked on it, and well, the rest is history, and she is here listening. So thank you, Spotify. We appreciate when they give us those nice little spotlights, and folks like Becca can find us. Becca, thank you for joining us today. And this is one of those ones I can't really preview without spoiling it, so I'll just let you tell folks what happened.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. So this all happened a few years ago, and there was a few things that happened all within the span of a few weeks that then culminated in something, which I'll get to. So one night I was sitting in my room, or sitting in my house. I had just put my baby down to bed, And I'm in the room below her in the living room. And I'm just sitting there reading my book quietly. And all of a sudden, the overhead light just turns off. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of strange. Not necessarily paranormal, might be a wiring thing, but it doesn't turn back on. And so I get up, I leave the room, go somewhere else. I kind of forget about it until maybe a few days later. We have the same exact light in our basement. And I'm walking through the basement, and that light turns off again right when I get into that room.
Huh.
But then when I leave that room, it turns back on. It was so weird. And again, I'm like, okay, maybe it's a wiring thing. I don't know. But it was definitely notable with the lights turning off on me. And we've lived in this house for 6 years. And that's never happened before. So that was weird. But not the weirdest part. Those things I would probably write off. But then all within that span of a few weeks, like I said, I'm sitting there rocking my baby to bed. And she required so much rocking and so much support to fall asleep when she was a baby. And so the whole thing was a long ordeal, right? And I'm like rocking her. And she's finally drifting off. And her sound machine starts changing sounds like rapid fire. There's 50 or so sounds on that sound machine you can choose from. And it's like one after another. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so strange, right as she's falling asleep. And I'm like, okay, so that wakes her up. I go back and I turn it back to the sound that it's always on. Like it's literally always on the same sound, same volume. We never change it. I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird, but whatever. And I keep rocking her, and this takes a long time. And again, she's finally falling asleep. And I'm transferring her into the crib, which is very stressful as a mother for a baby who needs a lot of help falling asleep.
Right.
And I finally am getting her down. And I'm not kidding, that sound machine changed sounds to thunderstorm in full blast volume, right as I got her into the bed. I was like, what is happening? I was so upset, and I feel kind of silly. But I was definitely getting scared, So I pick her back up. I get back to the rocking chair, and I'm like looking at the corner where the sound machine is. It's dark, I'm kind of scared, and I feel so silly because I'm like, well, maybe it's again like an electrical thing. I don't know. But I whispered to that corner. I said, whoever is doing that, can you please stop? And it did. And it was very strange. So I finally get her to bed. And again, that incident is forgotten. But at this point, these are starting to add up into something weird is going on.
Right.
The weirdest thing, though, happened a few days later. We are, I get her to bed. It's all as well. And she had her vaccines the day before at the doctor's office. So normally when that happens, she sleeps really soundly the next day. And it's the next morning now, and it's about 5 a.m. And she wakes up and she starts crying, just lets out a big wail. And this was not weird for her. So I didn't even look up. I didn't even sit up. She always will let out a cry and fall back asleep. And so I'm just minding my own business, going back to sleep until I hear the clear as day, the most distinct shh, shh come through that monitor. And it was horrible. I sit straight up, and I was just confident that there was a human being in her nursery. Oh my gosh. That's how clear it was. It was not distorted. It was perfectly shh, shh. And so I look in the camera, and it's one that you can move around the room, and there's nothing there. There's no one there. And we have an alarm system that we set religiously. So I would say it's almost impossible for someone to be in my home without me knowing. It's always on. So I'm like, okay, maybe I just dreamt that. Maybe I just made that up. Till my husband, he turns to me, he goes, "What was that noise?" I'm like, oh my gosh, he heard it too. So he sits up and he's moving the camera around, and we're looking, we move it towards her closet, make sure there's no movement. In hindsight, we probably should have gone in, but we really didn't want to wake her up because she went straight back to sleep. She cries, shh, shh, and back to sleep. And that's all. But like I said, it was literally clear as day. It was this creepiest thing. And so it was almost like all these little events with the lights turning off and the sound machine changing, then culminated in this very distinct voice. Yeah, coming through our monitor. I mean, at least she went back to sleep, but it was terrifying. And that was the end of that.
So who or what do you think it was?
I don't know. I like to think it was like one of her great grandparents that she has never met, because she wasn't scared. And as a baby, and even now, she's very timid. She only wants mom or dad. She doesn't like strangers. So the fact that she went back to sleep and she wasn't scared makes me like to convince myself that it was someone who was there out of love and not someone who was there to scare her. But
Very
I don't know.
cool story. Becca, very cool story. And who knows what you'll hear.
I'll say this. We don't have a lot of other weird things that happen to us. But as I was reflecting for this story, I remembered one strange thing that happened a year later. Same baby, same nursery. We go in, and her sound machine is off. The same sound machine is off. And we're like, okay, that's really strange. Like, we didn't turn it off in the middle of the night. But then when I go to turn it back on, it's not just off, it's completely unplugged. Like,
that's weird. Oh,
yes.
Dum.
Yes. I know. So we cannot explain it. I have no idea what happened. I've tried every rational explanation for all of this, and I just cannot get to it. So nothing has happened since then, but clearly something is going on with, I don't know if it's her or that nursery, or I don't know, but I have another baby now, and I'm intrigued to see if we get any more visitors.
Becca, thank you for joining us on the Campfire, and stay spooky.
Yes, thank you. Stay spooky.
Barb is on the line from Iowa, and she's a relatively new listener, and we appreciate her coming on board. She said she didn't know what took her so long. We don't know either, Barb. No, we know, because as I was telling you, I think there's a ton of people out there who would love this show. They just don't know about it. So viewers and listeners, that's where you come in, because you are our marketing arm. Tell your friends, tell your family, text a link. Halloween is really not that far away. So let's start priming the pump and getting some new people around the campfire, like Barb. And you get to hear stories like this one. Now, Barb, I understand, a lot of people think, ooh, ghosts, sinister. Ooh, ghosts, bad. It sounds like I don't really know your full story, but from what I'm gathering, not necessarily the case in this case. Tell us about your ghost.
Sure. One night I was upstairs, just kind of scrolling through on my tablet, and I had two of my cats with me on the bed. I had one next to me and one at the very end of the bed, and they were both out like a light. And it was getting late, and I figured, I just need to go to bed. So I shut my tablet off, set it on my nightstand, and all of a sudden I noticed that the cat at the very end of my bed just jumps up, and he was dead asleep. He jumps up and he looks toward my doorway, which of course leads out into our upstairs hallway.
Right.
And I thought, wow, what's wrong with you? And all of a sudden I hear a male voice say, "Kitty." And keep in mind, I am home by myself with just my cats. That's it. So I thought, oh, okay. So I get up and I walk out into my hallway, and it's a small hallway, nobody there. My windows are closed. I can't hear any of my neighbors, which are actually quite far away. I go downstairs, I check the entire lower level of the house, nobody here. I walked outside, no one around. My husband's gone. It's just my car in the driveway. And I thought, okay, that was a bit weird. So I go back upstairs and I go to bed. And it was a few months later, I was upstairs again. It was nighttime. I'm by myself. Most nights I was by myself. And just taking a shower, get ready for bed, brushing my teeth, standing there. And again, upstairs hallway, I hear a male voice say, "Kitty." And I look out in the hallway and there's nobody there. My TV's not on, radio's not on, I have no phone on, no nothing. So I have no idea what it was. I have a feeling I know who it was, but I don't know. They just apparently like my cats.
Now, you said you have a feeling you know who it might have been. You have an idea. Now, if you're not comfortable sharing it, that's okay. But if you are comfortable sharing it, we'd like to know who you think it might be.
Absolutely. I've had very strange things happen in this house. I've had devices turn on by themselves. I've heard doors open and close. I've seen things just seen things move around the house. And we actually live in my husband's family homestead. So his grandpa owned the farm, and then his dad owned it, and then now we live here. And those two people, his grandpa and his dad, were very attached to this place, and so are we. And his dad loved cats. The whole family actually were cat people. So I think it's either his dad, who passed away in 2006, or I think it's his grandpa. So I'm not quite sure who. But yeah, so I'm okay with it. Doesn't bother me.
So it's kind of a good energy.
It is. Yeah, it's a very good energy. I've only felt uncomfortable in this house for a very short amount of time. And in the basement in particular, I have made peace with whatever is in the basement. I have told it to leave me alone, and it has. And whatever is in the rest of the house in the upstairs 2 levels, I'm okay with too. I just said, just don't bother me, don't bother my cats, and you're fine to stay here.
So you feel it's 2 different things. The upstairs, okay, gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah, very much so. For a long time, the house was rented out. And when I was talking to the tenants who were here right before we decided to move and take over the house, the lady had said that there were 2 different things she felt in this house. And I didn't say a word to her about how I felt when I was here, like renovating. She actually felt 2 separate energies as well. And then I said, that's funny, because I have too. So it kind of validated both of our experiences that we had here. And whatever is in the basement, I don't like. It doesn't bother me at all. But I'm happier with the ghost upstairs, who apparently likes my cats.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for being on the show. I certainly appreciate it. And if you see those ghosts, tell them Jim said hi.
Yeah,
except that one in the basement. The one in the basement, don't bring my name into it.
No, it can stay where it is. So yeah, and I'll have to make an appointment to call it again with other stories I have, because I have several others.
Thanks again, Barb. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Now, you might remember a while back we had a story from Natalie in the UK about seeing a specific kind of UFO. And Jamie is going to tell us his story, returning to the show. We're so glad to see him again. And tell us about his experience. Jamie, welcome back and tell us what happened.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, so this was in 1989. There's a place, I live in Humboldt County, California, and there's a place near the Hoopa Indian Reservation called Tishtang. It's a little park by the Trinity River. And I was visiting a friend on the reservation in 1989, and I decided to stop at Tishtang and, just check out the river. It's in broad daylight. It's probably 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So I drive down there, and there's this craft, triangular shaped craft, probably 50 feet in length and width.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just hovering over the river. Now, I did some research. I know the B-2 Spirit came out in 1989, and it was real secretive, and they made maneuvers, and they probably did maneuvers on the Trinity. I don't know, because it was a secret. But this one was what makes me think this didn't make any noise. It wasn't displacing the water. It was hovering right over the river. And it wasn't displacing the water at all. It wasn't making any noise whatsoever, completely silent. And then I stared at it for, 30, 40 seconds. And I'm just like, what? And then it took off down the river towards Willow Creek, which is a town over. And it didn't make any noise. And it's the speed that it went when it took off from standing still to when it left was amazing. I mean, it was like whoosh, and it didn't even make any noise.
Huh.
So, a lot of people mistake the B-2 Spirit for a UFO. I've done the research, and they did come out at the same time. But military people that I've talked to about it over the years said they do make some noise. They're not completely silent, and they would displace the water. So
Yeah,
I just don't know.
I got to tell you something. The silence is what gets me. And that's the same thing Natalie from the UK said. She saw one of these big black triangles over her yard. And she said her garden, they call it over there. She said it was massive and it was absolutely silent. And I've heard this. Even going back, I think it was a triangle. It might have been a rectangle, but I think it was going back, if you remember Peter Jennings, the old ABC news anchor. Maybe the last thing he did a special on UFOs, believe it or not. And one of the case studies they talked about were some police officers. I can't remember who it was, but they saw a huge craft. I think they said, and again, this is a 20-something-year-old memory, said it was as large as a football field and it was absolutely silent. And that's the thing that gets me. Absolutely silent. And a lot of people think, well, that's military. That would be a big thing to hide, is one of these big triangular aircraft or craft or whatever they are.
One of the conspiracy theories is the government reverse engineered these craft from something, that's why they're the way they are,
Well, I do believe that there have been crashes. I believe there has been technology that has been reverse engineered. The thing I look at is this, and this is not, I think Philip Corso in his book talked about this. Colonel Philip Corso talked about it. To me, there's some kind of X factor between 1945 and now. I mean, I'm in my 50s. When I grew up, we had one phone in the house. It was one of those big black Western Electric telephones, the ones that they used to use as murder weapons in the old TV shows. They'd hit somebody over the head with a dial. I mean, they had push buttons, but our family wasn't that bougie. We didn't have push buttons. We had a dial. So, and everything, we had we had 5 channels on TV. We had an antenna. We didn't have cable or anything like that. And when I was a little kid, I think cable was just kind of starting out. And now I've got this phone and I can talk to anybody on the face of the earth if they've got a smartphone. I could see them in video, talk in real time. I can record it. I can go out and take 4K video. The explosion of technology we've seen in post-World War II is amazing and unequaled in any time in mankind's history. Now, I know that there was an integrated circuit, and I know there are genius scientists, and I don't want to underplay what they did, but I think there was an X factor. And the X factor, I think, is the government retrieved technology, and then what they would do is feed it to these different big companies. And all of a sudden, they would make a discovery. And that's how we get our computers. That's how we get our smartphones and all the marvelous technology that allows us to do things like that today. That's my theory. People think I'm crazy. That's okay. But I think something's going on. What do you think?
Something's going on. I do too. I mean, been reading about these pyramids in Mexico where they have all this liquid mercury underneath that they discovered, and mercury wasn't even something they made back in the, Aztec days or whatever. I mean, I think we lost some technology along the way, that they had way back when.
I mean, if you look at
technology that we don't even have now,
Göbekli Tepe, I think it's in Turkey. They found stones that were cut in such a way that you would need modern equipment to cut, but yet they cut it thousands of years ago. How did they do that? I do think there's some lost knowledge there. Where did it come from? I don't know. But there you have it. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for being on the Campfire tonight. Always a pleasure. Look forward to speaking with you again, hopefully, and stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Thanks for having me, Jim.
A brand new, newly minted listener, Bob, is on the line. He says he's into spooky stuff, and once he got past all the paid ads, the campfire came up. He started listening, and the rest is history. He's here sharing his story. And I do believe that there are people out there that have true psychic gifts. I'm guessing Bob thinks the same thing based on the story he's about to tell us. Bob, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us, and tell us what happened.
Hey, glad to be here, Jim. So some of your listeners aren't going to relate to this very well because this is before most of us had cell phones, ring cameras, and all that jumps out there. But I had kind of forgotten about the fact that when I was a teenager, my mom had gone to a psychic. Why, I don't know. But she came back with a couple of predictions that came true. One probably saved our neighbor's house, and the other one related to me in a relationship later on down the road. But I had kind of forgotten about all that till years later, and we're in the early 1990s, and I had a new girlfriend, and we had plans one day, and she called me and she said, or she called me at work, because again, I didn't have a cell phone yet. She didn't have a cell phone. You would use pagers.
Sure.
But I had told Stacy to call me at work. She calls me and she said, "Hey, I know we had plans tonight, but I forgot. I have dinner with my parents tonight. Would it be okay if we went to my parents?" And I said, "Sure, I haven't met these people, but yeah, we can go." We agreed to meet. I picked her up. We went to her parents, and on the way, I did ask. I said, "So what do your parents do?" Where they live's a pretty nice area in the foothills in Colorado. And Stacy said, "Well, don't take this the wrong way, but my mom's a psychic. Like, she's a professional psychic. She gets paid to do this. She owns a shop, one in Clearwater and one in Littleton, Colorado, where they sell stuff that psychics and people who do tarot readings and all this other stuff, crystals and such, where they come to buy stuff." I said, "Oh, okay. Great. Well, let's see what this adventure brings." We get to her house, and we're in the house for just a few minutes, and Mom comes a calling and says, "Hey, Stacy, come bring that guy into the office." Go into her office, and I shake her hand. We talk for just a few moments, and she said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know that you didn't like spinach and onions, and I'll have David make you something else, maybe some chicken." Now, this wasn't part of our conversation. It was, and I thought, well, maybe I told Stace that I'm not a big fan of spinach, and onions sometimes creates heartburn, and I'm just trying to lay off that, especially onions with a relatively new girlfriend. But dinner went fine, and fast forward a couple weeks from then, and Stacy is house sitting for her mom. Her mom's at a convention in Vegas, and Stacy is house sitting. And again, Stacy doesn't have a cell phone. I don't have a cell phone. I'd get one like in the next year or two or something like that. One of those little crazy flip phones. But we didn't have them yet, and there weren't ring cameras. But we agreed, you're going to house sit for your mom. And she invited me. She said, "Why don't you come on up? We'll have dinner and watch movies and all that." And I'm, house sitting for mom, and we got to watch the dog and the cats. As luck would have it, here in Colorado, the weather turned. They live in the foothills, up a whole bunch of dirt, switchback roads. And Stacy, in her little Geostorm, slid off the side of the mountain on the way up to her parents' house. And I was following her, and I had a big Chevy Blazer when this happened. I saw her go off the side, and the back end of her car's hanging off the side. I pulled up in front of her, got my chains, pulled her out, kind of drug her the last half mile up to her parents' house, and we parked. It's now snowing really good. And we park. She parks in the garage. I park outside. And we walk in the house, and we're in the house for no more than 10 seconds, literally 10 seconds, and the phone rings. She picks up the phone, and all she says is, "Yeah, he's right here." And she looks at me, and she said, "Bob, it's my mom. She wants to talk to you."
Huh.
Okay. She hands me the phone. "Bob, it's Katrina. Thank you so much for pulling Stacy off the side of the hill. Who knows how bad that could have gotten if she had just tried to do this herself." And I thought, "Stace, how does she know this? Did you get a cell phone?" She's like, "No, dude, I don't have a phone. I don't have a cell phone. Those are too expensive." So that was the first crazy one. And then a couple weeks later, her mom has come home. They've gone off to another event. And again, Stacy's agreed to watch the house. And they must have just poor weather at her house, but as luck would have it, it's raining a little bit, just starting to rain in the foothills, and their driveway's a lot of mud. And I mean, the whole drive up to their house is mud, but their driveway's just really dirt packed and mud. And again, she invites me up. "Hey, why don't you pick something up for dinner? Grab some groceries. Come on up."
Mm-hmm.
I've stopped at Blockbuster. That's how long it's been, is the Blockbuster was still out there.
I remember, Bob.
I know, it's crazy. And I drive up, and as I get there to park, she's just opening the garage door, and she is yelling at me, "Get in the house, get in the house." And her dog's there with her, a great big German Shepherd, and he's just sitting there, and the hair on his neck is just standing straight up. And I can see that Stacy's on the phone with her mom. Well, she's on the phone. I've later learned it's her mom. And Stacy's yelling, "Get in the house, get in the house." So I get out of the car. She's like, "No, leave the stuff, leave the stuff." And I'm not listening. I stop and I grab the groceries and I bring them in. And I kick my shoes off in the garage because they're muddy. And she closes the garage door. I said, "What's going on?" It's like, "Just before you got here, my mom called and said, Bob's about to pull in the driveway. Get him in the house now." I thought, okay, well, strange things have happened with Katrina, her mom. Maybe there's lightning, and she's expecting a lightning strike nearby, or whatever she's going to come up with. Excuse me, sorry about that, Jim. But anyway, she hangs up the phone with her mom, and we sit down, we have dinner. She calms down because she was pretty excited. I don't know what mom was saying, but she was pretty excited over all of it. The next morning, it's time to go to work. We say goodbye, walk out the door, the garage door, and there were mountain lion prints, this big around, all around my car, all around. And they were all around the front yard because some of those houses up in the foothills, they're not, heavily landscaped. I mean, they live up there to be in the middle of nowhere. But it was just crazy how we had these 3 different events with her mom. She didn't know, she hadn't been told, and didn't know that I didn't like spinach, but she knew it. She knew that Stacy had slid off the mountain. And she knew that there was a mountain lion or something dangerous, at least, in the yard as I was parking. And it was, quick, get in the house.
Now, let me ask you this, Bob. That had to be kind of tough, though, dating a young lady whose mom kind of knew everything. You had to make sure you were on your best behavior. Isn't that right?
Yeah, you do have to behave when mom's a little all-knowing.
So I have to ask, I think people are wondering, how did that relationship turn out?
We dated for a little while. We decided to be friends. We're still friends. It's just the long-term he and she thing just wasn't going to work out. So it's okay.
But the thing is that you learned that psychics are real from firsthand experience. I do believe it's real. I mean, that doesn't mean that every person who claims to be psychic is psychic, just like everybody claims to be a good car mechanic isn't necessarily a good car mechanic. But some people have the gift. I believe it.
They sure do.
Yep.
I agree.
Bob, thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate it, and stay spooky.
Stay spooky, Jim. Good to talk to you. Bye.
I always get a smile on my face when I see that we have an international caller coming up. And there's a smile on my face right now, see? Because Raisa is there from Ireland, and we're so glad to have her. And her husband, Gavin, have been listening for about a decade at least. So we're so glad they're both listening. Gavin, stay spooky. Keep listening. Thank you. And Raisa, you have a frightening story for us. Tell us what happened, and thanks for joining us all the way from Ireland.
Thanks so much, Jim. So it's not a very long story, but it is an unusual one. So it goes back, I was about 9 or 10. I need to set the scene a little bit because I think it plays an important part to where the paranormal aspect comes in. So I was about 9 or 10. I live in a very, very busy household. So I shared a room with my mum, and I had 2 older brothers. They would have been 14 and 15 at the time. And we also hosted 6 university students as well in my home, which would have been the age of like 17 to 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So super, super busy house. Always people coming and going. And like you would always hear things going around the house and people coming in and out. But one night, it was just a really typical, like middle of the night. I was fast asleep, and I was awoken by this ridiculously consistent ringing of our doorbell. And it was going off, like didn't stop. And I was like, my goodness, like what is going on? So I sat up in the bed and it was still ringing. And I turned to my mom and I was like, Mom, can you hear this? Like, are you going to get the door? And she responded back to me and said, no, it's okay. It's fine. And I was like, oh, this is so strange. Like, it's so strange. And it was ringing really loudly. So I got up out of the bed and I just opened the bedroom door and I had a look around to see like if my brothers were getting up or if any of the other students were getting up, if they were expecting someone. It was like middle of the night though. So that is a bit unusual. Like people usually settle down into bed. It wasn't like something you'd have people coming and going in the middle of the night. So we lived in a pretty quiet neighborhood. There was about 6 houses close by, but they were all in close proximity. But anyway, I think that's just important to kind of set what it looked like. So the ringing was going and going, and it eventually did stop. And I was wide awake, and I was like, right, okay, I'm going to pop to the toilet. I'm up now. There was an ensuite in our bedroom. So I went into the toilet. I was sitting down. I was just kind of gathering my thoughts, wondering what was after happening. Nobody got up. My mom did respond back to me. I was like, this is so strange. So I sat down, and we had a blind right beside in the bathroom. There was a window and there was a blind. It was half open. And I looked out the window and there was 2 men in my front garden standing beside our car. Yeah, standing beside our car. And what I now know, they were wearing balaclavas. I didn't know at the time because I was only so young. They were like masks, but they were balaclavas. And they were standing in the garden, not doing anything. Which was really, really strange. But one of them did turn up and looked directly at me.
Oh, boy.
And I got such a fright that I just done what any like 9 or 10-year-old does. And I ran back into bed and I pulled the covers up over my head. And I just hoped that like it would go away. But I was like, in that moment, I'm sure I was trying to piece together, were they ringing my door? Like, what's going on, or something like
and
that.
why did your mom say it was okay?
Yeah, so strange. So anyway, I went to bed anyway, and I eventually did go back to sleep. You know, you do when you're in like the covers are up over your head, you just go back asleep and you don't think any more of it. The next morning, I did get up and I did speak to the people in my house, and I was like, "Hey, Mom, like what went on?" And she was like, she couldn't remember any of it. She had no recollection of me saying, "Hey, why didn't you? Are we going to get the door?" I said it to my brothers. Nothing. Nobody had any recollection of it. So I was like, this is so strange. And then I was thinking, well, maybe I'm imagining like seeing someone outside and just trying to like place all the puzzle pieces together, but didn't think any more of it. Later on, later on that day, we were sitting, and I can't remember exactly if my mom went outside or if they came to the door, but the police, the Irish police, the Garda, they're called here, were outside our home, like to the neighbours on our right. And I was like, oh, that's strange. So I don't know if my mom went out and was speaking to them or they came to us, but she did end up speaking to one of them. And it turns out that the neighbours next door, directly to our right, and it's only like a fence and a tree partition between the two houses.
Right.
Someone had broken into their house that night and had stolen their car keys and had stolen their vehicle, had stolen their car. So I just don't know if it was the people who were in our garden. I don't know why I could hear the ringing of the bell. Nobody else could. Were they coming to our house or what was going on? Or someone
See, on the face of it, it seems like, well, these guys in ski masks, they were probably just robbers, and they were milling about to figure out where they could get the best target. But the things that might bring it into the supernatural realm is nobody else heard the bell. Your mom said it was okay, but she didn't hear the bell, so I guess she would say it is okay. But then you saw them, and it just seems, and nobody remembered anything. That's where it gets. I mean, it's an unusual thing to happen in general, but you would kind of lay it down like, well, the crime took place, and your family was the lucky one.
In a neighborhood. We don't live in a really quiet, like university town, like not like that kind of place at all. Never happened since or before that. So unusual.
Your family was lucky. The next door family was unlucky. But where it gets kind of weird is the fact that nobody remembers any of this.
Nobody. And it was so loud, like the doorbell was so loud, and it just went on and on and on. Like even when I sat up and I was awake, I could hear it, which was so strange. But no, and my mom answered me. So strange.
Do you think it's a case where maybe being so, they say a lot of times young folks tune into things that older folks don't tune in. Do you think maybe you had you were on some level tuning into something bad was going on, and maybe you were more receptive to it than them, and it took the form of the doorbell or something? Or is that maybe what you're thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking that, or someone was alerting me just in case something was going to happen in our house, and like I set up and they could see that someone was awake in the house. I don't know, but it was really, really unusual, and I've never ever been able to pinpoint, and I've brought it up like since, and people were just like, no, like, because I brought it up at the time and I've brought it up since, and they remember me talking about it at the time. But like I'm 37 now, and I still all these years later I can't figure it out.
Very strange. Raisa, thank you so much for joining us to share your story, listening all these years along with Gavin, and I hope that you both will stay spooky.
Thanks, Jim. Stay spooky.
Thanks so much for joining us today on The Campfire. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. What a great show, great stories indeed. And we thank each and every one of our storytellers. And if you want to hear more great stories until the next show comes out, The Plus Club, jimharold.com/plus, jimharold.com/plus. Don't forget to check our virtual campfire group out. We had an influx of new members, and it's a free service. virtualcampfiregroup.com, virtualcampfiregroup.com, where we all share our stories. Many people share their images. It's just a great time, and I think you'll love it. virtualcampfiregroup.com. That's our community for the campfire. And then finally, I wanted to say a special belated happy birthday to Anna. Anna's birthday was July 31st, and we want to wish her a big happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Anna. And stay spooky too, and many more. And if you want a personalized video, there's one place to go. You can go to cameo.com/thejimharold. We haven't promoted that in a long while. Cameo.com/thejimharold. Make sure you get that "the" in there or it won't work. And there I do personalized videos for birthdays, anniversaries, graduation, new job, just a word of encouragement. And I'm proud to say, we've done many of them over the last few years, and I maintain a 5.0 rating. People seem to like whatever I'm doing. I must be doing pretty good at it. And we try to make it very affordable for folks. And like the Plus Club, it helps support the shows. It's cameo.com/thejimharold. So if you want a personalized video just for you or for someone you know and love who is a Campfire fan, go over there and sign up, and I'll be glad to do the video. We thank you so much. We'll talk to you next time. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye-bye.